first thing that you need to do is think about identifying the tools. So what are the two key pieces to make this happen? There's project management software and then there's SOP management software. So a few people said they use some project management. I asked earlier, yell it out, we won't worry about the mic, but what are some project management tools that you guys are using? Any? Yep. Basecamp, old school, traditional. The original classic or the updated, yes, later, yep. Trello, yep. Soho projects, yep. Any other ones? Rike, yep, Rike. OneNotes, yep, perfect. So the takeaway here is there are plenty of different project management software. There is no one right or wrong. Nothing I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to reveal a piece of software that is going to, completely change the game. So I don't want you to chase shiny objects here. If you've got something in place that is already working for you, just stick with that. Like, that's fine. But I would suggest that having some form of project management software will be helpful for you. And it's not even just for the delivery of your product or service. You'll actually find, I'll show you once we start to look at other departments and other department functions, having all of that housed. A project manager, what does a project management tool do? It answers the who does what by when. That's where you get the accountability. You can have a project manager oversee a particular task, and then they can be assigning out individual tasks to team members. Sometimes the project management tool will also kind of relate back to your systems software management. So for example, if someone gets assigned a task and they don't know how to do it, you would have a link in that task for them to go view the system. Does that kind of make sense? So that way you're assigning a task to them, and if they're not sure, they can dig a little bit deeper to find out how you want something done. And I'll show you the way that works and that looks when we log into my account. I find it amazing when I work with some companies and I look behind the curtain and I see what's going on. I'm working with a company at the moment and they don't really use a project management tool. They're an 8-figure business. They're selling some very high-end equipment. The salesperson does what they need to, then it gets handed to the back-end operations for them to do the delivery, and it's trapped in one guy's head. He oversees all of the projects. So they're very large projects, and he's across all of it. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, what happens if he gets hit by a bus? What happens, and I asked, I said, well, if you're sick, who's moving these projects forward? And he goes, the projects don't move forward. They wait until I come back. And that's really what project management software is doing, is trying to have information centrally stored where all of the team can come in and have a look at it, where me as a business owner, I loved when Melissa got our Asana set up for us, that's the one that we use, to the point where I don't look in what's going on with SEO projects anymore. But if I wanted to, I could jump in and drill in deeper and find out where someone is up to. And I could see when tasks were due and who has missed those dates. So it gave me the peace of mind to know that it was there, and then over time I started to let go more and more. Because the reason I was holding on is I was worried that projects weren't going to move forward the way that I would like. But once you build that trust up with whoever that project manager is, or the person overseeing it, and you know that it's getting handled by skilled hands and you've got systems and processes in place, then now I just don't even have a look. Sometimes a client will come through and Melissa will handle all the delivery, and they might outreach to me and ask me a question about something, the client, if they feel like they contact me directly, but I won't be aware of the work that's gone on. And I love that. I love things happening consistently through to clients that isn't dependent on me. And I'll show you as well, like I said, for an e-commerce business, because I had this discussion with someone who ran an e-commerce business, and they said, well, there's no point in us setting up projects inside Asana or something like that for shipping out a product, and just because of the way that their system worked and they were doing drop shipping, and it just didn't make sense. But what they did see the value in was having the systems and processes for the other parts of the different departments. So the way that the finance is handled, the way that management handles meetings, the way that staff are onboarded, those sorts of things. Compare that to the other piece of software that I mentioned, which is the SOP management software. That's the how-tos. So some people do this in Dropbox, Google Drive. We used to use a thing called Edit Me. Again, it doesn't really matter what you use, as long as you have something, it's centrally located. We ended up developing some software called System Hub, and if you don't have anything in place, that's a great default. But again, you don't have to chase the shiny object here. If you've got something in place, you just use that. But the takeaway that I want you to grab here is to keep them separate. You actually don't want to merge your SOP software with your project management software. And there's a few reasons for that. One is project management software is more likely to change, and different software tools will change over time. So you don't want to get so locked into something that it then becomes painful for you to move. And oftentimes I find platforms that try and do both, the SOP management and the project management, tend to not do either very well. Or maybe they're very strong with one thing, but they kind of drop the other side on a few important criteria. So I just want to give you a couple of tips or things to think about if you haven't yet found your project management software or your SOP software. Just a buying guide, and there's a couple of points on page 22, but thinking in terms of project management, the things that you want to look for. Firstly, make sure your team loves it. You don't even need to be married to it. I now very rarely hop into Asana. I used to be in there all the time, but the project management is more for the team than it is for me for running of the projects. If I want to communicate with the team, I have to hop into Asana and follow the rules, and that's the way I assign tasks. But where we can, the team keeps me out of things as much as possible. Because I don't do, as a visionary and a business owner, I don't do my best work that way. Like you want to try and create a business that supports the way that you do things and your unique ability. So when I want to interface with the team, I'll use it, but I'm not necessarily using it on a day-to-day basis. So you want to make sure the team loves it. You want to make sure that you can assign priorities and be able to set deadlines. You want to be able to duplicate tasks, so have a master task that can be duplicated. And I'll show you inside hours, that's probably the best thing to do. Permission controls is another thing. You probably don't want departments crossing over sometimes. Your sales and marketing team or your operations team doesn't necessarily need to see what's going on in finance or in HR. So there just needs to be some sort of separation there. If you are using one, just scribble it down on the bottom of page 22. Just go, yep, that's my project management tool. If you don't have one, then just start doing some research. When it comes to SOP management, the things to look out for is making sure that it's dedicated for SOPs. The thing I find with Google Drive, because we used to use Google Drive and then we tried Dropbox, is what ends up happening is people create these Frankenstein-style index pages that link to everything. It's almost like they'll just list out all of their systems and they're jumping over to different systems. Because different team members are working on different systems, there's no consistency for the way that they're formatted. Some are half done, some, the folder structure doesn't work very well for organising it in different departments. The controls over what they can and can't see, like you want some people to be able to view a system but not be able to edit it. And you want other people to have full rights. So there's a few different things. I think a dedicated SOP management software that's been designed for that is a good idea. Make sure it's intuitive and simple. Don't chase features. Again, complexity is the enemy of systems, so the simple approach is better. You don't want anything that requires learning curve or onboarding. You just want to be able to share, hey, this is the way that we do this particular task and here is the instructions. So it's got to be easy. And then your best practice templates and processes, that's another good thing to have in there.